Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show on this Thursday evening, Thursday the 13th of January, 2022. Almost to 2021. Anyway, listen. I have seen what the Fed's doing right now, and they are basically going to cause a crash in the system. This is a very sobering thing because they are actually playing with something that is very dangerous to crash the system. They imagine that they have total control, but in fact an awful lot of things can happen really quickly. They've come in and they said, hey, we're going to tighten. We're going to... What's the effect? Basically what I'm getting to, guys, is I'm working toward Bitcoin here. I'm going to be getting there. But I'm laying out the basics for you guys. Is there's inflation out there. Tremendous inflation is starting. And by their mandate, they have to do something about it. They just can't sit on their hands. And so they believe that they're behind the curve and they're trying to catch up to the curve. And actually what they're doing is the system is built on credit and they're withdrawing the credit. And they're not just doing this in a small way, they're doing it in a big way. Now they're talking about balance sheet reduction. They're talking about not just balance sheet reduction, but also raising interest rates and cutting their bond purchases back, doing all three things almost simultaneously within the next few months. And before the end of this year, they're talking about balance sheet reduction. The markets haven't reacted big to this yet. And I'm going to tell you something. Any risk-on asset class like cryptocurrencies is going to get hammered. But this is not going to last long. Why I'm doing this show tonight is I want you guys to understand that what's coming up for cryptocurrencies. I know we have an awful lot of these perma bulls out there like to give you guys sugar to eat, or basically feed you guys a bunch of candy, telling you Bitcoin's going to go to the moon right now and everything else. But think about this as a buying opportunity that's never going to come along again in cryptocurrencies right now. And what I'm going to explain to you guys is I think this buying opportunity is only going to last for about another 16 weeks. And I believe that it's going to be as big a buying opportunity as it was back when Bitcoin was at 3,500. But you guys are going to have to find your entry point. And this is going to be the difficult part. Because when this thing turns back again, it's going to turn back very, very suddenly. So I'm going to give you guys my interpretation of what's going on and what I think is going to happen very soon. I think we got less than a month now. 20 some odd days. Maybe only 20 days. Maybe only 15 or 16 more days. Before the markets start to price in the next cut. What I mean by the next cut is we've had the first cut, which is a $30 billion cut to treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. In just a matter of days, I'm thinking maybe 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, I think they're going to start to price in the second cut, which is another $30 billion cut to treasuries and mortgage-backed securities by the Federal Reserve. It means they're not purchasing. They're the biggest purchaser of bonds out there. And they're not purchasing. So bond yields are going to creep up if they're not purchasing. The net effect of bond yields creeping up when bond yields are at historic lows like they are now and we got raging inflation is going to be to add inflation to the system. To consumer, the CPI, it's going to be a net positive for inflation. But at the same time, for the markets, it's deflationary. I know that's hard to understand, but for the markets out there, it's deflationary. It cuts off their supply of cheap, easy money. But it makes the price of money go up, and this is why it affects the CPI in a positive way. But we've already got a high CPI, so it's over 7%. So, on one side of the economy, when you purchase a can of beans, it's going to cost you more. But on the other side of the economy, it's going to be deflationary for the Wall Street part of the economy and the banking system and the, well, it's not going to hurt the banks that much because they thrive off of higher rates of interest, higher rates of return. But the your Wall Street investors who are invested in things like the S&P 500, the Russell, NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, we're going to see a teetering markets. Now, what's going to happen is I'm expecting the markets not to drop that far before the Fed comes in and cancels their projects, because there's something very important you guys have to understand. Now, I know I hear a lot of talk out there. I hear a lot of guys saying, hey, market's going to drop by 80, 90%, 70%. They're all putting in their estimates, what they think the market's going to drop. But you really believe that the Fed's going to idly stand by and let the markets drop 70%? Not in your wildest dreams. But they could possibly let it drop 10, 20% over a period of number of weeks, hoping that it's going to return to positive again. But it won't. Until they drop their mandates of what they're trying to do. In other words, until they go back to quantitative easing, which is what they're going to have to do. They'll probably have to maybe assert even some sort of yield curve control because they cannot withstand higher rates because it makes it too hard to service the United States debt. Just a 1% raise in rates can drive the debt up so that they have to pay an extra $300 billion a year. Just 1%. So they can't afford to go there. They have to keep their main mandate is to keep the economy stable. And when instability starts to creep into the markets because of what they're doing now, they're going to have to correct that. Which means, and they've told everybody, and people are not listening, they have told everybody that it's all, what they're doing right now is all data dependent. They can back off in a heartbeat. And why this is important to you guys around cryptocurrencies is because I'm trying to estimate how long this is going to last before the turnaround of the Fed. And why this is important to cryptocurrencies is that's the period of time you guys have to get in on these terrific prices. I think they could get more terrific than they are now. But it's for a limited period in time. And what I'm trying to lay out for you guys is what this limited period in time is. I'm watching the Fed. I'm watching everything that they're doing. I'm thinking to myself that we're going to see lower prices on Bitcoin very soon. But when's that going to turn? So this is why it's so difficult for you guys, if you're thinking about buying some more, to find that entry point. Because where is it right now? Like 43,000 for Bitcoin. But all the other cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin's the standard. But they're all different prices. There's like 9,000 different altcoins, and they're all different prices. But if Bitcoin goes down, they all go down. They all move together. And so to find that entry point of your favorite altcoin If Bitcoin's 43,000, let's say your favorite altcoin is $1 right now. If Bitcoin drops down to say 35,000, well, your altcoin might drop down to 65 cents, which is a better price than $1. But if you wait too long, when this thing turns on the other side, when the Fed comes out and they say, hey, you know what? We told you guys all along we were data dependent, and we are going back to quantitative easing, and we are going to forget about trying to normalize our balance sheet. Forget about that. That was just we were just joking, guys. And also, we're going to come in here and we're going to control the yield curve now. When they come out with an announcement like that and they start lowering rates by force, the game's over. And you'll see Bitcoin then one day, you won't be able to buy it fast enough when that happens. It'll rise that quick in price. So, well, basically what I'm getting at, guys, is in the first half of this year, I'm expecting Bitcoin to be probably the most worst performing asset class out there. And end the year as the best performing asset class out there. But we got to go through this dip period. And this is going to create possibly the greatest buying opportunity in Bitcoin, next to the buying opportunity when people, well, there's been other buying opportunities, you know, back when Bitcoin was like $140, went all the way up to 20,000. And then it went from 20,000 all the way down to 3,500. And then it went all the way back up to like 60,000. There's been buying opportunities. What I'm trying to tell you guys is another buying opportunity is coming up. You haven't missed the boat. But, oh my goodness, you're going to hear these guys out there, you know, when this thing starts to roll over, oh, these miserable guys are going to be out there saying that Bitcoin's done and all this kind of, they're going to be back again. You know they're going to be back. They're just waiting out there in the wings, waiting to ridicule Bitcoin and how it's not really money and all this kind of, you know, you've heard all the crap before. Anyway, guys, that's what I wanted to let you know tonight. Keep your eyes open. Keep some dry powder ready, because I think that this is going to be a little bit of a slaughter when the markets start to go down, because this is a very much a risk-on asset, the cryptocurrencies. It's going to be a bit of a slaughter, and I would say your best option is, if you guys are holding, you know, HODLers out there, just HODL right through this whole miserable mess. On the other side of it, just pretend like it never happened. You know, but you might see your portfolio go down pretty drastically over the next number of weeks. I just think that hold the line, guys, is what I would do if you're an HODL, or just hold the line. Don't try to think, hey, I'm going to make money. You know, I wouldn't do that. But, I mean, I'm just saying, that's what I wouldn't do. You can do whatever the heck you want. You could sell all your cryptos if you want, but you might end up being sorry. 2 or 3 years from now, you might end up being really sorry if you sold them, you know. This game that you might play to try to make money might end up costing you money in the long run. HODLers, you know, in the long term, they're going to make out the best. And so, you know, even if you bought in at a little bit higher price than it is right now, it's going to surpass those prices eventually. And you'll get back in there again, you know. But anyway, listen, guys, I'm rambling on a little bit. That's what I wanted to let you guys know about tonight. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll catch you guys and go Bitcoin. And once it gets past this little thing right here, I'm saying go Bitcoin. Once it gets past this, once the Fed relents, and they have to, or the whole system will go down. They will, if they hold the line, if the Fed were to hold the line on this, They would destroy the entire monitor and the entire world. They would take everything down. They have to relent. It's no option. But they've said from the very start they're data dependent, so we know what they're going to do. Here on this channel, we know what they're going to do. I don't think they're really going to get very far with all this anyway. It's mostly all just chatter. Hyperinflation is coming. A couple years out. A year or two down the line. Maybe 3 years. Hyperinflation's coming. It's going to get here. I know I've been preaching it for 5 or 6 years, but it's going to get here, guys. It's not going to be pleasant when it gets here. But you know what it's going to do for cryptos, gold and silver? It's going to be unbelievable. You know. But all those poor other people out there, they're going to suffer from this hyperinflation caused by the central banks. We were told, either by deflation or by inflation, that they would basically destroy us. And right now they're in the process of doing it. Why do people sit back? And the people just are all sitting back watching like spectators. But they're not spectators. They're the ones that don't they realize inflation's a hidden tax that's going to make them all poor? They won't realize that until they're poor. Bye-bye, guys.